And joining us now is Barbara Comstock. Hey, Barbara, thanks for being with us.
Good morning, John. Good to be with you.
Now, we thought you'd be in session today, but Dick Saslaw, the godfather, the majority leader of the Senate, he sent the Senate home. Chaos reigns. I want to start with, we know where you stand on MedX, no question, but Terry McAuliffe made this 2-year pilot program extension idea, and he said, basically, take the money and run. I got this waiver from the federal government. We got $5 million a day is on the table. If it doesn't work, we can just get out of it. No problem. Why is that not a good idea?
Well, first of all, as the Richmond Times-Dispatch said, I think it was yesterday, it was a shockingly irresponsible dereliction of duty for the Senate to leave. You know, we went into session on Monday. We were supposed to be there through Wednesday to resolve the budget, and they left town Monday afternoon. We stayed and finished the budget very late Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. But this pilot program was really no such thing. A pilot program is something new, outside the box kind of thing. This was just pure Medicaid expansion. It's a doubling down on the failure of Obamacare expansion, which we have soundly rejected in Virginia. So, I have my record on opposing Obamacare Medicaid expansion has been clear ever since last year because we knew it would bust the budget. We know we need Medicaid reforms, and we can do that without this expansion because Medicaid reforms can save us money and provide better health care. But we have just seen this Obamacare plan fail at every turn. It is just a disaster that, ironically, Democrats in Washington are running away from, yet in Richmond, our Democrats are doubling down on it, and it's simply not going to work. So we said, take it, separate it from the budget. We've got to get our budgets done for our counties and our localities, for our schools and our police, and most that is a position that most Virginians agree on. That's the Virginia way to keep these things separate. Then we could have a separate debate on that. But what Terry McAuliffe and the Democrats are afraid of is that their debate on Medicaid expansion on its own just holds no water, will be soundly rejected by the people. So they want to have what they call leverage over the budget instead of really just standing up and fighting, for or against Medicaid expansion.
You know what, Barbara? I want to get to what you just said about why there's other people in Washington running away from Obamacare around the country. Terry McAuliffe seems to be embracing it. But just this Quinnipiac poll that came out the other day, or actually today it was released, says that in Virginia, people are now opposed to Obamacare 52 to 44%. So obviously there's a trend now that says, look, we've seen it, we don't want it. The other thing I want you to comment on is, once again, the president extends another deadline, goes from you got to sign up to the end of March, extends it into April. Does he even have that authority?
No, he doesn't. I think it's a joke, but it's not at all funny, and we aren't laughing. But people are saying, we're still a nation of laws. It's just Barack Obama decides what they are every day. Again, this is something we need to address this year. One of the reasons, I'm running for Congress is because we've got to send a strong message this year that we want to get this economy back on track. We want to, focus on jobs again, repeal and replace Obamacare because it is killing jobs. If you want to move the economy forward, if you want to get people more health care, the best thing you can do is put them back to work.
That's
People
right.
don't want to be on Medicaid and be dependent on the government. We need to have that safety net there for people who can't help themselves. But what we need for all of those people who want to be back to work is to focus on jobs again, get the economy moving, and then you shrink the problems that you have to address in that safety net when you get people back to work. So it's just common sense, but in Washington and with this president, common sense is just not at all common, and that's why they need to get a strong message this year with a lot of new increased House seats. I was at the NRCC dinner last night. I'm named as one of their strong candidates. I was happy to get a shout out in front of the 2,000 person crowd with Condi Rice there speaking last night to say I'm one of their great women candidates who's running this year. And we were talking about getting more seats there for the House and then getting a Senate that will start passing the legislation that the House is passing. And the House has passed repeal and replace Obamacare many times. What we need now is a Senate who will put that through, too.
Common Sense News Time coming up on 7:48. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network across Virginia and Washington, D.C. We're with Delegate Barbara Comstock, Republican in Fairfax. She is also a leading candidate for the Republican nomination to replace the retiring Frank Wolf in Congressional District 10. That's in Northern Virginia, and that'll be settled in a firehouse-style canvass primary on Saturday, April 26th. Barbara, as you look at what's going on right now, you mentioned that it's absolutely critical that the Republicans take the Senate and hold the House. Now, Democrats are saying that the seat that you're running for, District 10, is a vulnerable seat for the GOP. Northern Virginia trending red, so they think they got a strong candidate in Faust. They can take that seat. Why would Barbara Comstock be the best candidate to hold that seat in Republican hands?
Well, thanks for asking. I've had 30 years in public and private sector, fighting for the 10th district and fighting for the people who live here. I fought for tax cuts. I fought for reform in government. I've done that, as a member of the state legislature, where when I passed competitive bidding legislation that's now saving us, hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Could take that kind of experience and policy know-how to Washington and save us money there. Cut our taxes. When back in the 90s, when I worked for Congressman Wolf, that's when we balanced the budget. It wasn't so long ago that we were able to cut taxes and balance the budget. I think we can do that again. I've been in the private sector also, started my own business, so I know what it's like to sign the front of the paycheck and not just the back, but I know our community very well, our technology community, our business community, our government employees. We have, State Department employees, CIA employees, FBI, law enforcement. And when I worked at the Justice Department, I remember all of those people who, when we had the Washington sniper incident, they were working round the clock and trying to stop that violence in our own communities, and people who lived here then remember how frightening that was. And those are the people who live in this district. It's a very diverse, exciting district. I love it. I've raised my 3 children here, and I'm passionate about serving it. And I think my experience and know-how in Washington, and certainly we have the defense community here also, because the technology community is very plugged into our defense contractors and defense community. And the Democrat opponent, who interestingly had a fundraiser with Nancy Pelosi last night, has a very different vision. He's just worked here. He's worked here locally, but I don't think he understands the challenges in Washington, and does not have the vision to go in there and be able to cut taxes, really reform government, really take on the job situation heads on. He's not been involved in the business community the way I have, and so I think it'll be a stark contrast. And we know this is going to be a very expensive race.
Right.
We've put together a campaign that's going to work very hard. We know we have to raise a lot of money. We've always run tough, hard campaigns. We know it'll be a 24/7 operation, and that's what we're built to do.
Okay, 7:51. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with Barbara Comstock, a Republican delegate from Fairfax. Delegate Comstock, assuming you get elected to Congress, you're going to have to deal with Vladimir Putin. How do we stop this guy?
Sure. Well, we have had really irresponsible defense cuts with this president. And, as I mentioned, that is an important industry in Virginia, but it's first and foremost an important national security issue. So we have to get back in there and focus on this is still a very dangerous world. To mention last night at the NRCC dinner, we had people like Marcus Luttrell, who wrote the story about being the lone survivor in that mission that the movie was based on him, and he received the Ronald Reagan Award last night. And Condi Rice very poignantly said, we have to have a foreign policy that's worthy of our men and women who are fighting over there. People like Marcus Luttrell. And what this president is doing has been reckless. And so we really do have to turn around those defense cuts and understand it's still a dangerous world. And we have to have an energy policy. We know if we have a strong energy policy, that will gut what Putin is able to do and the leverage he has over Eastern Europe and Europe because of energy. And we know all along the East Coast, everything that we could be doing with energy if this president would let us go forward would really not only be great for our jobs, change the economy, but it really would shake up foreign policy. I mean, it's a win-win policy that we should be doing, and this president is just captive to left-wing interests that are fighting our just having a common-sense energy policy that's about jobs, it's about national security, and we know we even have Democrats with us on that, so we really need to fight hard for that this fall.
No question. Common Sense News Time, 7:57. We're just about out of time. We're with Republican Delegate Barbara Comstock. She's also a candidate for Congress for the 10th Congressional District. Congressman Frank Wolf, the iconic figure, retiring, and that'll be decided in a firehouse primary again in the 10th District on April 26th. Barbara, if our listeners want more information on your campaign for Congress or they want to get involved, where do they go? What do they do?
Our website is www.barbaracomstockforcongress.com, and we have a whole page and background on how you vote on April 26th, because the voting hours are only from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and there are only 10 locations throughout the entire 10th district instead of having all of the precincts open on that day. So you need to find the precinct that you're supposed to, first of all, you have to know your precinct you live in and then figure out where you go, and that is all on our website, barbaracomstockforcongress.com, and you can, if you have any questions, you can call us at 703-868-2429. You do need an ID to vote, and you just have to be a registered voter. And we encourage you to find out more about our campaign on barbaracomstockforcongress.com. And we'd also welcome donations because, as I mentioned, the Democrat opponent had Nancy Pelosi in last year. We know the Democrats are going to fight hard for this seat, but Frank Wolf has held it for 34 years. I've worked on every election with Frank Wolf for the past 30 years. I know how to win this seat, and I invite all freedom-loving 10th District people to join in our effort. Okay, fantastic. You can also follow Barbara Comstock on Twitter, her handle at Barbara Comstock. Hey, Barbara, we really want to thank you for being with us today. Good luck in your campaign. We appreciate your insight, and we will have you back. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.